Patrick Vieira were trading insults and threats in the tunnel beforehand. What happened?
Don't want to go into too much detail, but Patrick Vieira is 6'4", and starts having a go at Gary Neville. Says, come and have a go at me. Simple as that.
Good evening, fellow Manx, Southern or otherwise. Welcome to another edition of the Southern Manx podcast by the fans, for the fans. Rumour also has it there's a couple of Liverpool fans that listen into this podcast as well, so make of that what you will. So tonight's show then we're going to be discussing and reviewing the 0-0 draw against the old enemy at Anfield, as well as Wednesday's trip to the Cottage to face Fulham. We're also going to look ahead to another meeting with Liverpool in the fourth round of the FA Cup, and we'll round off tonight with a discussion about our season so far. So let's get straight into it then, lads. Nick, there was even more of a build-up and hype surrounding the game than there usually is, given the standings in the league. Among other things as well, our away form, the injuries that Liverpool have had. It was set up perfectly for a great game, and of course this all added up to a 0-0 draw. How did you see the game and the result?
Yeah, I mean, the first half as well felt a bit of a throwback to recent weeks. Thinking the Burnley game in particular, I just couldn't get out of the blocks in the first half. Liverpool, without creating too many dangerous chances, were probably the better side in the first half. I know they'll point to the whole referee blowing the whistle before half time and all that sort of debacle, but there wasn't a great amount of goal mouth action in that first half. I thought we were a little bit slow. I didn't think the Pogba right wing experiment worked. I thought it was a strange game to try it, first of all. However, second half, just like Burnley again, I did think we were the better side. We clearly created the better chances in the second half. Fernandes either side of the keeper or lift it and it's a goal. Pogba, I thought the criticism by Keane was slightly harsh because he's hit it so well. It's one of those ones where if he hits it in the ground or if he scuffs it or it goes either side, it goes in the net. So it was one of those games. So I thought, old cliche really, game of two halves. Liverpool edged the first half. We edged the second half. Draw was a fair result. You come off thinking, should you be disappointed with that? And I've seen and heard various sort of pundits talk about that. But I don't want to go back on what I said last week of, whenever was a point away at Anfield, a bad result. So for me, I'm happy.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I think I know Mark felt slightly differently. We'll get onto that as well. But I think my immediate reaction after the game was, it's a good point. Although I do accept the argument that the way the game went and the chances we had, the couple of chances we had, and after that sort of first 30 minutes, we could have easily on another day gone away with the 3 points. But I think the key point is we've got a draw at Anfield. We're still top of the league. I think we've got to take that and we've got to build on that and go even further. Okay, so Mark, throwing it to you, the lineup was pretty close to what we sort of expected and we were discussing on last week's pod, except Lindelof came in for Bailly at centre half. Tony Martial played up front instead of what we thought maybe Cavani would be up there. And as Nick alluded to there, Pogba started off on the right-hand side, although that didn't last too long. What was your opinion on the team selection and the impact that it had on the game itself?
Yeah, I think as we predicted on the last pod, we were expecting the Diamond sort of to try and take control of the midfield. Ollie sprung a little bit of a surprise. I think that he likes to do that. And I don't think it was a shock to see Lindelof over Bailly. I think Lindelof, you have to remember the game away at Leicester. Lindelof started well, had to come off due to injury. Lindelof and Maguire had started to form a good partnership. And I think Ollie would probably say he was vindicated in his choice. I think Lindelof had a great game. I think he read the game well. And we'll come on to the Fulham game and Eric Bailly shortly because I've got something to say about that opening goal from last night's game. But if you look at Lindelof, I think he did well. There was one superb block that he got in, which set up a counter attack actually for the Fernandes shot. But Pogba on the right wing, did that work? You'd probably say that was our best chance of the game or second best chance of the game that came from him being in that position. I don't think he particularly enjoyed tracking Robertson all the way back and was pretty. I don't think he did that too well. But overall, like we said on the last pod, make changes not for change's sake, and make changes that will keep your opponent guessing. You don't want to become predictable. So maybe putting Pogba in a different role makes us a bit unpredictable and sort of gives us the edge in that sense. But overall, I think the team selection I'm all right with. I just don't think that opportunity we had to go and get the win. I think Liverpool were very good first half an hour, and I think Ollie, you could see his face coming off at the end. He was a bit frustrated that we didn't take all three, because we had those two chances second half that you'd hope that we would have taken.
Yeah, and they were very, very good chances, weren't they? No getting away from it. They were both very, very good chances. And on another day, one of those or both of them goes in. So, yeah, I do understand that slight disappointment there, especially the run we've been on, the momentum we've gained. But as we said earlier, it's a point at Anfield. We'll take it and we'll move on. Yeah, I mean, in terms of the performances, Nick, we were just sort of starting to talk about it there. We defended well under a lot of pressure in the first half. We were under a lot of pressure in the first half. But we have to talk about Luke Shaw. I thought he was outstanding. I think he was the best player on the pitch.
Yeah, sure. I mean, left back union here. I've always been a fan of Luke Shaw. He was always a talented player. We bought him for a lot of money. Everyone knows about his injuries. I think he's come into a little bit of unfair criticism down the line, but I think that comes part and parcel of being a Man United player. There's also, let's not get away from the fact he's probably done some things that have hindered his chances as well. That, just when he seems to get going, something usually happens with Luke Shaw, and that's the same at United and at England as well, because he hasn't been called up for an England squad since he pulled out of an England squad. And Southgate has done the same treatment with him as what he's done with Wan-Bissaka on that. So I think Luke Shaw's always been a talented player. People are sort of alluding to the Tellas signing, maybe as giving him a kick up the backside. I've always thought there was a player in there that just needed a run of games, a bit of form. But with that being said, he's been outstanding. He's been outstanding the last couple of games. He just looks so much assured on the ball. There's clever turns in and out. He's making the right decisions to go short or go long. He doesn't seem to get himself into any sort of pickles. And now he's contributing more up the left flank. You think of Fernandez's chance. That could have been assisted by Luke Shaw. Last night as well with the Fulham game, he was a constant threat. So I'm really glad. You could say this about a number of players at United, but I'm really glad now that we're starting to see the Luke Shaw that we signed. There's a left back there for the next 6 or 7 years. So if you're looking for consistency, we've got it. He just now needs to do his bit. And I think eventually he'll get back in the England squad, because Chilwell's form hasn't been great. Patchy at best, I'd say, for Chelsea this season. I can't think of too many others in that who we'd have competition with. You've got the lad at West Ham and your Cresswell, who seems in and out. So I think Luke Shaw would be unlucky not to be in the next England squad, unless he gets caught down Rother Grill with a half pounder and an ice cream again.
Yeah, I tend to agree. And I think what you touched on as well there, Nick, which I think has definitely been a feature of his career so far, especially since he's been at United, is these big events that have happened that have not helped that consistency. And I'm talking about under Van Gaal, when he had that really serious injury away at PSV. He started the season as one of our best players, and then he got that really serious injury. Also, I think the way that he was handled by Mourinho, which I thought was absolutely disgusting at times. Obviously, we don't know exactly what's going on at the club, at training every day. But in my humble opinion, that's no way to treat any of your players at any time. And I think that had a big effect on his confidence, etc. So, yeah, it's great to see him playing well. It's great to see him sort of having that form and keeping that going over a number of games. And what really stuck out for me, as well as his defending, as you said, not really getting into much trouble, being in the right positions, but also the sort of threat going forward as well. He was, any given opportunity, playing those little 1-2s, getting forward, getting good deliveries into the box. I think he got taken out for a free kick, didn't he? Right on the edge of the area where he was sort of just surging through the lines. So yeah, fantastic and good for him. And like you said, it's positive for us. It's positive for England. Hopefully he can keep it going. So moving on then, Mark, I've just sort of touched on it there, but there's a lot of talk before this one about the fact that Liverpool will be playing. We didn't know who it would be, obviously, at the time, but they'll be playing probably 2 central midfielders at centre half. There was sort of late talk that Matip might come in, but it didn't happen. I know that I sort of wax lyrical quite often about Cavani, and I'm sort of number one fan, the Cavani fan club, leading that group. But is there an argument to say if he'd have started up top, especially given what we saw last night? I know it was against Fulham, who aren't Liverpool, but if he'd have started up top, is there an argument to say he would have given Henderson and Fabinho at that centre half position more of a problem than Martial did?
Yeah, good question. And I've got a question for you on Cavani coming up, so I know you'll appreciate that. I think Liverpool defended really well. I think having Henderson and Fabinho in there, they did a good job. I think the problem with putting them two there is it takes so much out of their play going forward. So without Fabinho and Henderson in the midfield, they have to play a different way. They don't dominate as much. Obviously, Thiago came in and I thought he had a very good half an hour, but sort of fell away after that. So yeah, to answer your question, in the way we played, there was a clear. We touched on it in the last pod, but there was a clear. We were looking to get on the counter attack. It was look to hit Rashford. Rashford was in the number 9 striking role, and you probably say that in that style, maybe not Cavani. That's probably not his game. Looking for the ball over the top all the time. I think again we'll come on to it, but Cavani needs a service. And sometimes I look at our side again. Touched on it last week, but sometimes I look at, particularly in the wide areas, we're not blessed with a lot of creativity. Not from, I know Shaw's done well recently, but getting crosses in the box. I don't want to go back to the 82 crosses game like David Moyes in his era. But to get the best out of Cavani, you need service, and that clearly wasn't our game plan for the Liverpool match. It was counter attack, and I actually thought we don't even do that very well sometimes. I don't want to get negative at the top of the league, but the amount of runs that Rashford makes, and he just wasn't. No one was finding him. There was either playing it too early, and he wasn't ready for it, or playing it too late and he'd gone too early and he was offside, or just not. They're playing the safe ball and not picking him out at all, which was a bit disappointing because you've got some great weapons there, him and Martial's pace, but sometimes I just don't think we can execute it. Certainly in the Liverpool game, it was a little bit off. And then you've got players like Bruno and Pogba who are creative and want to find the killer ball, but sometimes will force it and then it doesn't come off. So no, I think I think you asked about Cavani, but no, I think what he's good at we'll come on to in the Fulham game. But yeah, just to finalise on Liverpool, Blunt up top, and I think a lot of that stems through the team lack of creativity, lack of fluidity as well. People like Trent just looks way off it. His delivery, Firmino as well. So many chances in that first half. We could have been 1 or 2 goals down by half time with a real clinical finisher up there. If you imagine those chances falling to the likes of Harry Kane, that could have been a very different game for us. So, some learnings for us to take forward. But yeah, overall, no, I think let's talk about Cavani in the Fulham section because the boy done good last night.
Yeah, definitely. And I do get what you're saying. I guess the game plan was always going to be to hit him on the counter attack at Anfield. I do understand that, and I do understand he's not that sort of player. But But what I would say is, I feel like sometimes when we have Martial at centre forward, that we have three wingers, and they're all trying to do the same thing. And Martial's putting out wide, and he's not holding the ball up. He's not winning the ball in the air. It's that predatory instinct. But as you said, I could go on about him all night because I absolutely love him. So I will shut up and we'll talk some more about him in the next part. So yeah, thanks for joining us for part one. Join us for part two, where we'll be talking about our win at the Cottage.
Right, welcome back. Part two, Southern Manx podcast. In this section, we'll be talking about the Fulham game away at Craven Cottage on Wednesday night, which followed our draw with Liverpool. A 2-1 win extended our unbeaten away record, equaling a record actually set in '99, and puts us back to the top of the league. But Nick, what did you make of Ollie's team selection?
For once, I was pleasantly surprised. I say for once, it's probably doing Ollie a discredit. He's doing all right recently with his team selections by me. But I said it on our sort of our group chat when I saw the team selection. I generally thought, you know what, here, I think Ollie thinks he can win this league, because I was thinking this would be wholesale changes. I was thinking all the lads on the yellows, so your Brunos, Luke, Harry Maguire. I thought they'd all be out. I generally thought that would be what we'd be doing, and you could see that then becoming a bit of a banana skin, because Fulham didn't play badly against Chelsea at the weekend. So when I saw the team sheet, I was actually surprised, and I thought to myself, you know what? I think Ollie thinks he can do something here. What that means for the weekend and the FA Cup, and we'll come to that later, that might be where the changes are. But for Wednesday night at Fulham, I looked at that and thought, you know what, here we go. He fancies this. In terms of the lineup itself, I know Joe's a massive Cavani fan, as am I. The old school sort of forward. That was a pleasant introduction. Rashford or Martial to the left of him at the moment for me is much of a muchness. I'll probably go for Rashford. He went for Martial. I'm a massive fan of Greenwood. I think the lad's got to play more games. I know you have that second season syndrome and everything like that, but I was delighted to see him in, and I want to see him in on Sunday as well in a big game. So I was delighted for Greenwood to get his minutes. Bruno, Pogba, when they're on form, there probably isn't a better centre mid around, and then it's just who does the dirty work behind him. He went for Fred. Coming into the game, I thought that could be a Matic game, but he went for Fred. And the back four was the back four that we were all raving about this time last week on the podcast with the keeper. So for me, the lineup I was pleased with, and it gave me excitement as a fan to think, you know what, our manager believes. And I think that's what you've got on your screen behind you, Joe, in the crowd, believe, innit? And that's exactly what it was. And I felt that as soon as I saw that, I felt that, and I believed. So for me, the lineup was spot on. We'll go into the granular, no doubt, but I was completely happy.
Yeah, you touched on it there. The defence was the defence we expected up at Anfield on Sunday, with Eric Bailly coming in to partner the captain, Harry Maguire. Fulham took an early lead. I did say it on the group chat, we've got to watch out for Lookman and Cavaliero's pace in behind. Joe, what did you make of that opening goal? Who was to blame, if anyone, from our boys?
Yeah, I mean, coming within a few minutes, let's not make any bones about it. It's a flat ball through the centre of midfield. There's no way that he should be in a position that you can get onto that and stick the ball in the net. My personal opinion is it's the fault of both centre halves. They both were in the wrong positions. There should be more communication there, and we should be more switched on from the get-go. I don't think you can single out one of the defence. I can't actually remember, but it was someone dropping up back, playing him onside. I think it might have been Wan-Bissaka, actually.
Yeah, it was.
which adds another element to it. I think it's a defensive issue in general. I think it's down to just not switching on from the start, basically, and not having that level of communication. It was a very poor goal to concede. The lad did take the finish well, obviously, but he should never have been in a position to do so. I think we've got to be cautious of that because we're winning a lot of games by the odd goal with battling performances and digging something out. But will that luck, you've got to make your own luck. And I don't think that luck will continue if we continue to make mistakes like that. I think we should let that serve as a warning to us that, that's what can happen. You can get punished. I didn't want to go here, but I am going to. They should have looked, man.
Oh, no. Southern Bants. Look, I thought the positioning of Maguire was interesting. I thought he got sucked over to Luke Shaw's side because Shaw got sucked over to someone who was standing right on the touchline, which for all his strengths, his pace, his one-on-one ability, even in the air at Burnley last week, I thought he did really well. Sometimes the decision making, the sort of sensing danger, and Lindelof has done his fair share of this over the last few seasons as well, and just not sensing it and not reading it. I felt like he should have gone across, but obviously Wan-Bissaka as well, playing him on. A poor goal to concede, like you say. But yeah, one of those things, and we'll get onto the reaction shortly, Joe. But yeah, anything else you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I wanted just to add that the way I see it with Lindelof and Bailly is it's either one of those, obviously, that's partnering Maguire, and it flips between the two a little bit. It's been Lindelof for a long while. Bailly sort of been preferred or played better in the last few games. But the way I look at the two of them, in my opinion, is Bailly's one of those defenders that he does exactly what you said there. He doesn't read things. He gets himself into positions. He's one of those recovery defenders. He's got the pace. So he'll make that mistake, but he might get back and make a good challenge and block something. A bit like a Kyle Walker sort of approach. And for me, the difference between him and Lindelof, Lindelof is a player that lacks something that enables him to commit to things. And I think he also lacks a bit of strength. So he'll sort of be half a second behind to winning that first and second ball, or he'll drop off too early, or just a few little bits like that. And I think that's how I see the difference between those two and sort of where the flaws are.
Yeah, Nick, what do you make of that?
I think there was a pro and con. Bailly and Maguire haven't played as much together as Maguire and Lindelof. If you switch that round, I think they'll be in a much more stable partnership. But I completely agree with everything that's said. When you look at Bailly, for all of his strengths, like you say, the pace, everything like that, he doesn't strike me as a great communicator. He strikes me as someone that's just going to do his own thing. And if he's there, he's there. And if he's not, he's not. And I think on this occasion, everyone had got sucked out to the left, bar Bailly, and then it opened up that gap. But like I say, the pro of that is the more they play together, because I do think they complement each other. And we were waxing lyrical about them 7 days ago. The more they play together, the stronger that will become. But you just got to look at Bailly sometimes when it looks as though he doesn't quite realise what's going on around him, and he gets away with it. But we've always said, even when we did these podcasts years ago, he's rash, he's raw, but there's something there.
Yeah, agree. And I think that will be the key really between now and the end of the season. It is finding that right balance, knowing when to rotate. What I'm quite glad about is that Maguire has stayed in there. I mean, there was some crazy stat. I think he played in every game last season. I can't remember what exactly what it was, but I'd rather the spine stays the same, and then there's players that change around that spine. I think that keeps the consistency. When you're chopping and changing the spine and making lots of changes every game, that's when it gets difficult to manage. But obviously difficult start to the game. I thought Fulham started really brightly. Obviously went 1-0 up. Then the reaction came, Nick. Cavani with the goal, but Bruno hit the post just before that. Tell me about the goal for one, but also just generally what you made of Cavani's performance.
Massive fan of Cavani's performance. He works so hard for the team, and at the age of 34, it just makes you look at everyone else and go, well, if he can do it, then you guys can do it as well. And the United faithful was always taken to those sorts of players. If you look at your Tevez is the one that springs to mind. If you look at that transition between Tevez and Berbatov, it was we almost vilified Berbatov when he first came. It took a while for us to believe in his class and for it to come out, but it was nothing against Berbatov. It was just so different to what we had with Tevez. And then when we've got now Martial, who is out of sorts, he's out of form. Martial is not the player we had last year. He's not going to be our top goal scorer this season. When you see Cavani at 34 years of age, running around, closing people down, wants to play every minute, disputing every decision, having a pop at his teammates, similar to what Bruno is like as well, you think, God, this lad, he's got some standards. He's got some standards. And he's making everybody around him better when he plays. And these young lads should be learning from him. In terms of the goal itself, right place, right time. But I firmly believe he's the only United forward we've got at the moment that would have been in the right place, right time. So he took his goal. He took his goal well, but he deservedly picked up the man on the match performance. So yeah, pluses all round for Cavani's performance last night.
Yeah, spot on. There was a clip I saw on Twitter earlier, actually, of Cavani dropping in to help defend. He then started a counter and got on the end of the header. Do you remember the header? I think it was a Pogba cross. Good save from the keeper, which I think just typified his performance. I thought he was brilliant. All right, it's Fulham. They're in a relegation dogfight, but you compare that type of performance to Martial and the sort of chances that he had on the night, and you think, Cavani was the difference maker. Joe, we're talking about that man again, Paul Pogba, match winner last week, match winner again last night. Talk me through it. Are you now in the Pogba believer camp? Is he staying, and what impact can he have on the rest of this season?
I know Nick's already made his mind up. He feels strongly about this, that he's not going to be a United player for that much longer. To be honest with you, I'm not sure. He could very easily end up leaving, and I can see that happening. And if it does happen, he'll be on his way, and good luck to him. I think the way things have gone the last few weeks, the performances he's been putting in, I feel like because of his history with the club, the fact that he was there as a young lad, obviously he didn't leave under the greatest of circumstances, but it was clear that he did want to come back here if he was going to leave Juventus after we had that really good season. And I'll just reiterate, I guess, what I said last week. When he's playing at this level, he is clearly one of the best midfielders in the world. It hasn't happened enough at United. He hasn't been consistent. Those performances haven't been there. He ambles around at times. I know we talked about, but I just feel like he's a quality, world-class midfielder. And when he's on his game, he's one of the best in the world. And let's be honest, he did win that game last night with that strike. There's not many players that can score that goal. I liked every element of it. The touch control from a ball that had gone God knows how high in the sky. He took it down, both feet, around a couple of players. And then, the finish is it's naughty, isn't it? It's absolutely the whip, the bend, and it's his left peg. It's not even his best foot. But aside from that, great goal, which would be enough to sort of win me over for the time being. I thought his performance in general was fantastic.
This is a live podcast, and Nick has a dog, so he's just sorting the dog out. Listen,
will happen.
I agree with everything you just said there, Joe. And what was more pleasing for me is that he got booked early on. It was silly booking as well. But unlike our man Fred in the Champions League game, who let us down a little bit, getting that second booking and costing us the game. I think Pogba showed a level of maturity to obviously see the game out and go one better than that and go and get the winning goal, which was an absolutely superb strike. Now, I just want to read out a couple of stats for you about Paul Pogba. Now, you may remember the 2016 transfer window. This is when we signed Paul Pogba from Juventus. All of the top traditional 6 clubs signed a central midfielder in that window. Ours was Pogba. City signed Gundogan. Liverpool signed Wijnaldum. Spurs signed Sissoko. Arsenal signed Granit Xhaka. And Chelsea signed N'Golo Kante. Now, excluding Kante because he's a holding midfielder, excluding Xhaka because he's Xhaka, out of the rest of them, Pogba, Gundogan, Wijnaldum, Sissoko, who do you think will have the most goal involvements per appearance in that time?
But I don't want to spoil the game, but it's going to be Pogba, isn't it? Look at the smile on your face. It's going to be Pogba.
So, Pogba came in on a massive transfer fee, and a lot of people will say he's failed to justify that. However, when you compare him to other players who have been around similar length of time, his numbers stack up. He's 27, I think, 27, 28, World Cup winner. There's still something there, I believe. We might not win the league this season. We might win a cup, but on his day, I'll be sad to see him go because on his day, he can be the best midfielder out there. You see him running games, left foot, right foot, in the air, tackles, finishes like last night. I hear that he's a good influence on the dressing room as well. And if you get that player, like we saw last night and at Burnley, and to some degree at Liverpool, you get that player week in, week out, you'd be mad to let him go, wouldn't you? Joe?
Yeah, all I wanted to say wasn't come in there is I'm all for stats. They tell us a lot about the game. But one thing I would say is my issue with him has been the appearance of the attitude at times. Because if he can do all that while he's sort of keeping the ball too long, trying some stupid little trick and giving it away, not running back, sort of, if he applied that, what would the numbers be then? And I think sometimes, the stats are all well and good, but it's a feeling. Like we know football, when you watch football and you watch players, some of the players we've been treated to in terms of playing for our team, especially in that position. I was watching a highlight reel of Roy Keane earlier, just unbelievable. The desire, the heart, the tackling, the strength, the pure will to win. Like if you can add that to his, I'm not saying the game is different now. He's not Roy Keane. He's not that sort of player. He's actually got a lot of attributes that Roy Keane probably would have loved to have. But if you can add that desire, that commitment, that work rate, that effort to him, I mean, he's a hero, isn't he? He's a cult hero because he's got the talent.
Yeah, exactly. Nick?
I just think we've had this conversation before, and it's not now down to his ability, his talent, who we compare him to. It's just time runs out. We're running out of time. If he's still here in the summer and he hasn't signed a new deal, we've been Arsenal, didn't he? We've been Arsenal. He's going to go on a free. So this summer's crucial. It's put up or shut up. I'd actually love to see him stay because I do agree he's a world-class player, but I don't think he will. And if he doesn't put pen to paper, what are we going to do? Let an £80 million player walk for free next year? What happens when fans get allowed back in the stadium and they know he's going? That's going to be toxic. He's already got a 50-50 relationship with the fans. This summer's so crucial for Pogba, and I just think time's running out. Class act, he's won us 6 points in the last 7 days. Class act, World Cup winner. He's got he's got 18 months left on his deal. We're going to get Arsenal, dear, if we don't make a decision.
Yeah, well, let's watch this space on that one. Watch this space. in summary, we're happy with the win at Fulham. We go on into our next game, which is an FA Cup match with the old enemy Liverpool, and we'll cover that in our next part of the podcast.
For some reason, towards the end of my time there, I found him really disrespectful towards me, so we had a bit of a fallout. You know, he questioned my loyalty, and I told him where to go. And one of my big regrets, really, I probably should have ripped his head off.
Welcome back, part 3 of the Southern Manx podcast. And just like last week, this section of the show is dedicated to looking forward to playing Liverpool, this time in the FA Cup, this time at home. JP, first question, mate. Will Sunday's result last week, the 0-0 draw, will that affect preparation for Ollie going into this game? Will it change his mind?
I don't think it will, Nick. I do have my reservations about how we'll line up for this game because of what happened against Chelsea in the semi-final last year, where he made sort of wholesale changes for the game, and we were second best all over the park for the whole game, not at it at all for an FA Cup semi-final. No, this isn't a semi-final, but I think that's why I'm even more concerned. And the reason I'm concerned is because although it's a different competition, I do feel like this is another opportunity to get one over on Liverpool, especially after sort of maybe ruin a couple of those missed chances at the end of the game. I feel like this, although it's a different competition, psychologically, if we could get a good result against them, go back to the league, with that positive result, I think it could be really, really helpful for our season. So I don't think it directly affects it, but I think there are elements of it that do come into play. I think he'll try and play a similar way, but I am concerned that he'll go down the route of what we thought may happen at Fulham, where there'll be more changes that sort of give that disjointed look, or could give that disjointed look. On the flip side of that, I think it's the first time we've been in a position where we've got more than the 11 on the pitch that are in form and that are playing well. So it may not have, as big an impact if that is the way it goes. So that's my thoughts on it. I don't think it directly impacts it, but I am concerned about the lineup he'll put out.
Yeah, no, I think the FA Cup semi-final last year still haunts many Man United fans' memories, just because it was Ollie's naivety at its best. We had 3 wins over Chelsea throughout the season, and I think he thought, let's just do the same again. But any manager, given their salt, is going to study and change, and Frank did us over that day. So, yeah, I share your concerns. Mark, similar question to yourself. Looking at Liverpool's lineup tonight, and just if you're listening now, Liverpool are currently drawing 0-0 with Burnley, about 55 minutes in. We see Klopp's made a few changes. Firmino, Salah on the bench today. People like Oxlade-Chamberlain coming in. Is this Klopp taking the FA Cup seriously, or showing United respect, or do you just think this was always going to happen given the amount of games that have happened over this period?
Well, you've also got Henderson, who missed out tonight due to a muscle, I think he said a groin strain, potentially. I don't think it's serious, but didn't want to risk him tonight. Obviously, Matip's come back into the side as well. So it's Henderson may have started in midfield tonight if he'd been fit. I think the Firmino, I'd say Firmino may have been dropped more than rested. Look at him again on Sunday. The chances he has is he could have won that game for them. Origi, probably looking at some of the Liverpool fans' tweets, is probably this is one of his last chances to impress as a sort of first team starter over Firmino. And I think Liverpool are reaching a little bit of a crossroads, certainly with the front three. There's been rumoured interest from Real Madrid on Salah. They're all approaching, they're all over 28 now, all approaching their 30s, the front three. And they may need freshening up a little bit. Obviously, Diego Jota is a big miss for them. I think he could have come in and given them something a bit different. Obviously, he's injured. Wouldn't surprise me if they went into the transfer market to strengthen certainly up front again in the summer. Not sure if they will. But whether tonight's selection will impact Sunday, I'm not sure. I think if Klopp had a choice out of the league and the FA Cup, there's only going to be one choice there. He's going to go to the cup all day long. The league all day long. But it's we're big rivals. He's going to want to get a win. They need to find some form. They need to start scoring goals. So he's got some problems that he needs to fix. He's asked for some patience with the fans, patience with the media. They'll find their feet again. So I think they're not under pressure, but if we were to win on Sunday, and it's because he's named a slightly weakened side, I don't think that reflects well on Klopp. So, yeah, certainly with Salah on the bench tonight, I think that's quite telling. I think Salah is still the top goal scorer in the league, still a big part of that team. And for him to be rested, that might tell you where Klopp is at.
Yeah, I agree. And funny enough, it's just cropped up the top goal scorers. Salah's 13, Kane and Son both on 12. And I was going to say my sort of counterpoint, or may not even be a counterpoint, is Liverpool for me have got to the same point with their front three as what Spurs have got with Kane. I.e., if you go out and buy someone, you know you're second fiddle to Kane. And Liverpool's front three, let's be honest, have been fantastic for a number of years. I mean, league title, Champions League win, Champions League final the year before that. So you know if you're going in to Liverpool, you're probably second fiddle to that front three. And it's taken an out of form Firmino and an informed Jota before the injury to maybe make people think twice about that. But yeah, that's all I was going to say about the front three. I mean, back to United now, JP. It is a United podcast after all. And over the last couple of weeks, we've built up our emotions. We've started to think something special could be on the cards, maybe even win the league. What's more important, considering this is an FA Cup tie, a top four finish or a trophy, considering Ollie's record in semi-finals isn't the best, and he's yet to win a trophy at Old Trafford. Where would he be where does this competition stack up in his priorities?
Yeah, in my view, we've put ourselves in a position with results recently and form as a team and individual form, as we spoke about earlier, not just a first 11, but as a squad. And I think that has forced us into a position, or it should force Ollie into a position where he's not making that choice. We should be going to win every competition we're in. I know that's the old cliche, the old line, and we won't win every competition we're in, but there's no reason why we shouldn't be trying to do that. You know, an FA Cup game against Liverpool in the fourth round, we should be going hell for leather to win that game. If I have to make a decision on what's more important for Ollie this season, I think given the position we are in the league, and maybe it's an easy out from me here, but given that, I think we are pretty nailed on to finishing the top four if we continue this form. Famous last words, I know, but I would strongly hope that we would, you know, at least sort of at a minimum match our performance of last season, end up in third, but maybe do it in a slightly better, more consistent way this season. But I also feel, as you mentioned there, in terms of his record in semi-finals and actually winning a trophy, getting over the line and actually winning a piece of silverware is absolutely huge. And as we all know, what that can lead on to, just getting that first one over the line can be the catalyst for things starting. And I think if we continue this momentum, winning a trophy of any ilk would only go to improving that and seeing this team go on from strength to strength, whether or not we win the league this season, whether or not we finish in the top three, whether or not we win anything. This, you know, that I think would be huge if we do actually get some silverware over the line.
Yeah, and the last thing I want to do is get us to the Arsenal of 5-10 years ago, where it was top four or nothing. I completely agree. we've put ourselves in such a good position, then why not dream? But also, this is the FA Cup. What does Ollie do? So, Mark, let's start the debate then. We was pretty close last week in terms of what we thought our formation would be with the diamond. We thought Cavani would start. He went with Martial, and we thought Bailly would start on recent form. He went with Lindelof. Other than that, we were pretty much there or thereabouts. What do you see, given the fixtures, given Liverpool's lineup tonight, given our lineup last night, given what happened Sunday? How do you see Ollie lining up? What's your thoughts? Diamond again to start us off?
I'm not so sure now. I think if Ollie's chosen default formation, if you like, is normally the 4-2-3-1. I think he's kind of trialed a few others along the way, the diamond, the back three, but we've always come back to the 4-2-3-1. Even at Liverpool, you could have quite easily played a diamond with those players, but he selected Paul Pogba very much wide right. That wasn't a diamond midfield by any sense. So I can see him sticking with his default. What I want to see from Ollie on Sunday is not change for change's sake. Again, like last week, change a few. I'm a big believer of momentum and consistency. I don't want to see lots of change. I want to see players. Only Ollie will know how his players are feeling. Only Ollie will know who needs a rest, whereas who can go into that Liverpool game. Like we've just said, this is the FA Cup. This is our biggest rivals. You know, you're not going to underestimate this game and pick the kids as an example, which I don't think you would anyway. But I think a maximum 2 or 3 changes. Maybe the goalkeeper, maybe not, because you've got a very good backup there, Dean Henderson, who needs minutes. Again, if you're going on the league, some teams would go with a league keeper and a cup keeper. I could see that. I didn't see anything from going through the back line. I didn't see anything from Luke Shaw that he needs a rest. Certainly not last night. And I again, consistency is key. I'd like to see him keep playing. Again, you've got a very able deputy on the bench with Tellez, so you could see that one coming in. I think one of Lindelof and Bailly probably happens, that rotation. The one area I would like to see a change potentially is at right back. I think Wan-Bissaka is essentially the only option there now with the players that have left the club. Fosu Mensah, Dalot in the summer, even Laird, the young fullbacks gone on loan. You haven't really got many options there. Maybe Tuanzebe gets a run out there, not sure. One thing I did think of, it's a bit left field. Pep plays Zinchenko, who is a central midfielder by trade, at left back, because they don't play with fullbacks. Not traditionally, they play sort of when they're in possession in sort of central midfield half the time. And I thought, who needs minutes? Donny van der Beek. Maybe we won't see Donny van der Beek at right back. He'll probably be on the bench again. But yeah, so he'll probably rotate a few in the midfield. Maybe McTominay comes back in. The big one would be with whether Bruno gets a rest or not. He's come out this week and said he doesn't want to rest. He won't let me drop him, kind of thing, which is interesting, dynamic.
I bet Van der Beek loved hearing that, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you could see Van der Beek coming in, but you could also wouldn't be surprised if Bruno starts again. Bruno, I wouldn't say he's been off the pace, but again, it will come down to Ollie. If Ollie thinks Bruno is off the pace and he's not sprinting as much, he's not impacting the game as much, then I think he'll think, right, let's take him out of the team for a bit. But I don't think you can see that. So I wouldn't be surprised if Bruno gets the nod again. And then your striking options again, I'll go back to that consistency. Cavani got a goal last night, so I'd like to see him again up there. We've got another couple of strikers there who need a goal for some confidence. People like Greenwood and Martial, desperate for a goal. But yeah, I'm not sure. I would be a little disappointed. I like Mata, I like Dan James, but I would be a little disappointed if I see them in the starting lineup for Liverpool at home, FA Cup fourth round. I think I've rambled on a little bit here, but 2 or 3 changes for max. Go for the win. We've got Sheffield United as our next game at home, bottom of the league. If you're going to rotate players there, maybe do it then for that game, but not Liverpool at home. Let's go strong. Let's get the win and get into that next round.
Yeah, I've got a sneaky suspicion there'll be a few changes. I can see Telles, I can see Lindelof, I can see Matic, and then the unsurprising one I can see is Rashford for Martial, because you're not going to leave Rashford on the bench for too many games. So I can see 3 or 4. JP, is there anything that we haven't covered there? Anything that you think you can see happening? You're on mute, JP.
Apologies. There's just one other element that I wanted to mention, and he does have a history of it, is that Klopp could well make wholesale changes to his Liverpool side for this tie. He has got a history of doing that in the FA Cup. And you're talking, I watched them play Wolves. I don't know if it was last season, it may have been the season before. And he pretty much, I think it was the third or fourth round, he pretty much had a reserve side out. So there's another element that could come into play there. I wouldn't be surprised if he made wholesale changes to his lineup, which could obviously impact the result.
Yeah, fair enough. So, JP, you start us off then. What are you thinking on Sunday? What's your prediction? Are we going through to the next round? Are we in the hat?
The way things are going, I think we've got to be positive, and adding all those elements together, I think we'll win. I think it'll be a tight game, a close game. It's difficult to predict, as we've sort of been talking about. We're not really sure how it's going to go in terms of lineups, etc. But I'm going to go for a nice 2-1 win for United, late winner, onto the fifth round.
Over to you. What do you think?
Before the pod, I was looking at our recent run of games against Liverpool. I think in the last...
We've lost you up. Seems to have some technical difficulties.
Oh dear. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, so I think a win against Liverpool is massive for us. When you think our last win against Liverpool it's been a few years now. Certainly away, I think we said 5 years last Sunday. At home, I remember a game under Jose, a 2-1, I believe, a Rashford double, which was 2018. Our last win against Liverpool in the FA Cup was actually 2011, a long time ago, at home. I think there's a bit of a hoodoo to break there. And I think it sets a marker. Whether it's cup or league, we should go to win. And I'm quite confident. I think, as you've just said there, JP, we could see changes from Klopp. I can remember those cup games as well where he has really gone weak. I don't think he'll do that, but I don't think this is a Liverpool team high on confidence, high on form right now. So whether it's full strength or he makes a few changes, I think they're there. Honestly, I think they're there for the taking. So I'm going for a United win. Do I think we'll keep another clean sheet against Liverpool? Do I think they can score? I'm not sure. It could be a 1-0. But I'm actually going to say 2-1. I'm going to 2-1 United win. That's my prediction.
Yeah, and I'm going to make this a full house. I know last week I was pretty critical about our form in the big games, but I fancy us. I fancy us at home. Liverpool's form is iffy. We are the form side out of the two teams. I do think there'll be more changes, but I think it will be from both sides. I think we'll be quite close to the mark on this one. But full house, boys. I'm confident we'll be in the next round of the FA Cup.
Last minute we were losing. I think it was 4-3 the last minute. But if you're going to get sent off, the worst thing is I pushed him. If you're going to get sent off, you might as well punch him properly, because you're going to get the same punishment. You might as well be hung for a sheep as a lamb.
Welcome back, everyone, to the final part of the podcast. So, the last section, we're going to be doing a mini season review, talking about how the season's gone so far and discussing a few individuals. So, for me, the season so far has been a tale of two quarters, if you like. We didn't start off very well, and obviously, since we've restarted the pod, we've been having some fantastic results, and we find ourselves at the top of the league. I just wanted to start off by talking a bit about who's sort of impressed me so far this season, and who's not done so well. We'll start off with the positive side. You can't look any further than our main man in there, Bruno Fernandes. He's had a fantastic season up to this point. The assists, I know, Mark, you're big on the goal involvements, etc. The goal scoring, the free kicks, the dead balls, the passing. He really does make our side tick, doesn't he?
Yeah, definitely. I think Bruno, his numbers speak for himself. I think it was Emile Smith-Rowe came out after the Arsenal game in the week and said Bruno is sort of my idol. Quite strong words. He's the benchmark now in that position, the number 10. And I think the number 10 sort of died out a little bit, and Bruno's been a bit of a throwback to that in a sense. I think teams were going more 4-3-3 with sort of more flat midfield three. Certainly Liverpool and Klopp style has got runners
Mark,
in
I'm just
there.
going to stop you there. Penalty to Burnley.
Wow, penalty to Burnley.
Continue whilst they argue. But yeah, sorry to cut you off mid-flow.
Well, are they going to take it now, Nick? Do you want to talk us through?
Well, Alisson's come out. Ashley Barnes, Eastbourne Borough legend, as we mentioned last week, has got past Fabinho. Alisson's come out. Alisson's had a great game, to be fair, but he has completely taken Ashley Barnes out here. As usual, it will go to the 5 minutes of VAR, so we can probably get in another podcast. Here we go. Right, Ashley Barnes has put the ball down on the spot. Alisson's still having a whinge. Ashley Barnes has tried bouncing the ball, and the ball's not bounced. Genius. And then here we go. Right, Ashley Barnes scored his last 5 penalties. 3 to his right, 2 to his left. Which way is he going to go? I'll tell you which way he's going to go. He's going to go to the keeper's left. Ashley Barnes is right. If I do this, you'll know he's scored. It's 1-0 Burnley. It's 1-0 Burnley. Sorry, Mark, to cut you off, but that is live. That's what you get on this podcast. Anything can and will happen when it's live. Sorry, Mark, over to you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Jeff. So listen, yeah, we're talking about Bruno. I mean, I might struggle with my concentration here, but yeah. So Bruno's numbers in the last 1.5 seasons since he's joined, goal involvements, that's goals and assists per appearance, is over 1. So this is his end product per game. Basically guarantees you either a goal or an assist. Jack Grealish. We posted this on our Twitter account earlier in the week. Jack Grealish has got some brilliant performances this year. Rightly so. I think he's superb. His ratio, just under half. Good, decent. You look at the other English sort of attacking players from there on. Next on is Foden, 0.36. Maddison, just behind, 0.35. And Mason Mount, 0.31. What this tells us is clearly Bruno is out there on his own in terms of some of these other players who are getting some good performances but Bruno's still the number 1. And I look at some of our replies this week. King Kai at Fanny, Foden is a talented player, but he's honestly playing with a very well-structured team. The rest of the midfielders mentioned have to grind out for either goals and assists. I think that's a good point. So Foden, he's obviously playing under one of the best managers in a great side. I think there was another one here that I mentioned around Foden. Zakaria Free Haaland. Foden made a lot of appearances from the bench. So another good point. But yeah, so thanks for all of the interaction on that post from all of our followers. One player who we should also mention who played in the number 10 role is Wayne Rooney, Joe. And Nick, I'll throw that one back over to you. Wayne Rooney, some big news for him this week.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a massive fan of Wayne Rooney, but I just thought it's probably best to mention now more than ever. Obviously, this week with the news came out that he's retired from playing. He's going to take up the permanent role at Derby. I mean, it's not a Derby County podcast because that wouldn't attract viewers or fans, but we wish him well. But in terms of playing, he's our record goal scorer. He's England's record goal scorer. And I'm sure we've all got great memories of that number 10 or number 8 when he first started, JP.
Some fantastic memories. I'll take you back to the earliest one. And it was a Champions League tie, his debut. He hadn't long been signed against Fenerbahce at home. And he was standing in the tunnel and he was looking a bit forlorn with his shirt ripped from the neck, about 3 inches down. And as it turns out, he'd just been torn a new one by Sir Alex for doing it, the Hulk impression and ripping his shirt. And then he went onto the pitch and, like Roy of the Rovers stuff, banged in a hat-trick, didn't he, including the ridiculous free kick. Just what an unbelievable player. What a career. I don't think he gets the credit he deserves for the player he was. I heard Rio Ferdinand talking about it in the week, how much more appreciated he is elsewhere, which I think is a real shame. But I do think, and I agree with Rio, now he's stopped playing, I think he will get that appreciation. All-time record scorer for United and England, obviously. So let's talk about our best moments from Rooney. And I mentioned the Fenerbahce bit there. I'll take my one first, if that's all right, before you lads get in there. For me, it's the bicycle kick against Manchester City. I mean, the platform, the team we're playing against, it was at Old Trafford, the sheer ability. I mean, there is a slight argument it might have been a little bit of a shinner, but, he's gone for it. He's gone for it. He's taken it on. He scored it. What a goal. What a moment. What about you, Mark?
So quite topical with the Liverpool game coming on Sunday and the Liverpool game last Sunday. But Wayne Rooney for me was always a big game player. Got the winner there 5 years ago under Van Gaal at Anfield. The winner there in his earlier days, wearing the 8 shirt, I believe. I think someone threw a phone at him. But that was Rooney for me. He's got so many big moments, but I'll pick one of those 2 goals against Liverpool, and that reminds me about all the other huge games that he's played for us. You go into the San Siro to play AC Milan, you need to mark Pirlo out the game. Wayne Rooney's your man. I think that rhymed beautifully just then as well. Unfortunately for him, I think he sacrificed him a little bit in some of the other games. So when obviously against Barcelona in Champions League, I think he sort of shuffled him out on the wing to get the best out of Ronaldo. It didn't quite work out, but yeah, the goals, pick your best. One of his goals against Liverpool for me. Nick?
Yeah, there was a spell where I generally thought Wayne Rooney was the best number 10 in the world. I was such a fan of Wayne Rooney. I couldn't stand it when people were criticising from United perspective or from an England perspective. I was such a fan, I even bought his first year at Old Trafford DVD where we won nothing. And it was just a documentary of Wayne Rooney's first year. I was such a fan of Wayne Rooney. I mean, obviously, the bicycle kick will stand the test of time. The big games, the big matches, the big goals. But I was thinking about this earlier, and there was a season, it was in the black V stripe kit where we didn't win the league. That kit always reminds me of the Michael Owen winner against City. We didn't win the league that year. I think we won the League Cup, actually. But that season, how many headers did he get? Including one in the League Cup final, including away at AC Milan, which I thought where he was going to there. And he just seemed to reinvent himself from being the tenacious sort of number 10 that would hunt everything down and maybe just live on the edge to a degree, to at times we used him as a target man, to a left winger, to a number 10, to the end of his career as a deep lying playmaker. fantastic player, fantastic servant. I know there'll be blemishes on his United record because there was a couple of instances where he was asking for new contracts, obscene amounts of money at the time, questioning the club's direction under Sir Alex of all people. So there's a couple of blemishes there, but I do think, as JP alluded to, as the years go on, he'll be appreciated more. And it's funny because Paul Scholes isn't appreciated in this country, but you've only got to see the comments by Pep Guardiola's, Xavi's, Iniesta, and I think we'll probably start seeing more of those about Wayne Rooney in the next 2-3 years. But fantastic player, and we haven't even mentioned the Newcastle volley. But fantastic player.
100%, absolutely fantastic player, and I couldn't agree more with your sentiments there. Another thing we felt important to mention is the anniversary of the passing of Sir Matt.
Yeah, so we'll cover. We'll talk about Sir Matt very quickly there. Obviously, how different our club may have been without that man who came in. Obviously, played a lot for our arch rivals before taking over as manager. 13 trophies at his time at the club as manager. Obviously, 10 years after the Munich tragedy, completely rebuilt the team. Won us our first ever European Cup. He was obviously a genius, but he was also someone who put his own money into the club. At the time, he pushed us forward, got the right type of players in, built a belief about the club. These things that he put in place. How different the club would have been without that man. So yeah, just good to reflect on that.
Yeah, Nick, did you have anything to add to that?
Not so much on Matt. I think yourself and Mark have covered that. I just wanted to say, sort of before we go, we've really loved interacting with the viewers, and people commented us on social media. And straight after this show, we're actually going to put a poll up about a United. So we'd love to see more interaction, more comments, and Mark will give you a shout out in his social media piece on next week's show.
Yeah, definitely. And we had so much interactions this week. We ran a comparison between Nani and Martial. Again, total goal involvements, similar appearances. Would you believe, in Martial and Nani? That came a bit of a surprise for me. Some interesting comments on Twitter. One particular that made us laugh was from a guy called Future Castles, who said, "You could have replaced Nani with anyone. The trophies would have come, wouldn't have changed." And RAF Manchester replied, "Yeah, replace him with my unborn cat and nothing would have changed," which I just thought was very, very funny. But yeah, there's lots of good interactions there. Lots of people comparing the positions they played. Of course, James Moore reminded us that Martial, when playing on the left, is pretty much a winger, and Nani would have had more freedom on the wing under Sir Alex than Martial would have under Ollie, as an example there. So look, I think it's just a good reflection on the interaction. We're all over that, and we'll be doing plenty more posts between now and the next podcast, and we'll shout out the best replies.
Absolutely, yes. To keep those replies coming in. Thank you both. Been another great episode. We'll look forward to seeing you all again very soon for the next edition. Take care, all.